When we turned the corner on 2023, I put out my first video of the year, and I remember watching Dom's video, Seeking a Thread. Go check out his channel. Excellent stuff. A little esoteric. I'm more mainstream, but I love Dom's presentation and collecting sensibility. Anyway, he really kind of influenced me in that first video that I think he put out in the new year. And he talked about really trying to pare down his purchasing. Now, you'll have to check with him and see how is he doing on that kind of resolution. But I really decided to kind of take the lead from him, and I have really tried to be a little more kind of in the moment, thinking about purchasing a split second more than just kind of grabbing something like, oh, that's probably good, don't have it, it's in great condition. Now what I'm trying to do is build a world-class collection that is based on the music that I love, and I want to have the best possible pressings, whether those are reissues, original pressings, whatever the consensus says out there in the marketplace with the consumers, and then reviews, but most importantly, my ears. So I just put an Instagram post up last night. I currently have 4 pressings of Who's Next, and I have just pre-ordered the long-awaited super deluxe package that Pete Townsend and the team with him at The Who management have been working on for the last several years. We talked with Jamie Harwith of the Plangent Process on Steve Westman's roundtable last Friday. Jamie's an amazing guy and has done a lot for this industry, and he was involved in the Who's Next project. They applied some of his Plangent process to the original tape on the original mix of the proper album. Now, I pre-ordered the remastered album along with the 2 LP set of the Lifehouse acetate demos from Pete. So really looking forward to, especially the proper album, giving that a listen. I've got a couple early W-2 pressings on Decca. Those are the Doug Sachs cuts. You can tell by, if you look at the dead wax numbers, there's at least a 2/8 in the I don't have it memorized, but Doug Sachs always etched his 8s slanted really noticeably to the right, so you have a Doug Sachs cut for Who's Next if you see that. And ideally you have a W-1 or a W-2. So I have 2 copies of W-2. I have a first press UK pressing. One side of it uses the Doug Sachs cut, the other side is Bilbo. And then I have that Music on Vinyl reissue from, I don't know, the mid-2000s. There's some digital aspects to it. It's a little bright, but it's a really dynamic, fun listen to this great album. So anyway, I want to talk today about just some new things I've picked up over, let's say, the last 45 days. I'm going to call this the Midsummer Vinyl Finds. But yeah, back to the original idea. I have pared down my purchasing this year. I'm only going after things that are upgrades to existing copies I have, or they're grails that I need to have. I just did a video on Donald Fagen's second solo album, Kyriad. It is incredibly hard to find that pressing. It was only pressed originally in Europe. I finally picked up a near mint copy of that over Discogs. Go watch that if you're looking for some Steely Dan or Donald Fagen content today. I really love that period where Daryl Hall and John Oates were coming out of the mid to late 70s and into the 80s and early 80s. This was the album Voices, and 1980. This is an original first pressing. It has the album title embossed. A couple ways that you can tell this is an original pressing. It has the embossed title on the cover, and it's all black and white, and Daryl Hall has a lighter colored hair there. So it's interesting as you move through the reissues of this album. Let me show you. They actually use an entirely different cover with color on the cover, and different pose from Daryl and John, and a totally different cover. No embossing on that cover at all. The important thing though is both the reissue, the one that I have, and the original pressing. It's an Indianapolis pressing on that RCA Victor label. There's a look at that label. The important thing here is you want to find a copy that has Masterdisc and RL for Robert Ludwig on both sides of that record. And thankfully, I have found a near mint copy of this. And like I said, this was before they kind of became a hit-making machine. And they took some interesting choices, and there were some long tracks on these albums, not your just 3.5 or 4 minute hit song. One that comes to mind on Voices, of course, is Every Time You Go Away. Now that's the song that Paul Young, the British blue-eyed soul crooner guy, had a huge hit with. I prefer Daryl Hall and John Oates' version. Very soulful. There's some incredible Hammond 3 organ playing on that. You put that on and it's time to go to church, ladies and gentlemen. It sounds fantastic. Robert Ludwig comes through again. And I'm going to talk about those cards that you may see on some of these albums I'm going to show. There's a cool company in San Francisco called Copal Design. I'm going to leave a link to their site in the description. I have no affiliation with them. I just like their stuff. They do a lot of the vinyl A through Z or labels that you can use when you're categorizing your collection and shelving things. Now, a newer product that they've come out with is this kind of a cool concept. These are archival cards, and I think it was, I can't remember, I think it was $25 for a pack of maybe 100. I'm totally blanking on it. It was kind of a spur of the moment purchase. I got an email. I'm on their email list. They included a cool archival pen in this package, Micron pen. I'm a bit of a pen freak, so I like my pens. All of the relevant information or the potential to categorize your records are on these cards. Everything from condition, year of release, grading scale, listening notes. It's a two-sided card. And anyway, I'm going to try and, I'm not going to fill one of these out for every piece in the collection, but I am going to do it especially for things where I do have multiple pressings of copies that are different pressing plants, different mastering engineers, reissues versus original pressings, etc. So pretty cool. Check it out, Copal Design. I'm going to leave a link to their site in the description. In addition to the Hall & Oates Voices record that came out in 1980, Daryl Hall put out a solo album, and I've never actually seen this in the wild. This is called Sacred Songs, and it was produced by Robert Fripp. Those guys were kind of buddies. They were hanging out together in New York City. And I have not given this a listen yet, but I'm looking forward to listening to it. I know that Daryl Hall did a recent tour. I think he may have had Todd Rundgren with him, but he wanted to get away from the Hall & Oates catalog, and they did, you know, a small run of dates, and he wanted to revisit a lot of the songs on this album. So kind of a cool piece. And let's see who we had on this album. We had Kenny Passarelli on bass guitar, played a bunch with Joe Walsh, Charlie DeChant, saxophone, background vocals. So interesting. It said it was produced by Robert Fripp in August of 1977. So I may have a reissue of this record, or maybe they held it and it didn't come out until 1980. Gonna give it a listen. If anyone knows this album, chime in on the comments. Would love to hear your feedback and your opinion. So here's a record that I currently have 3 pressings of. And I'll tell you what, I have a hard time. If I find this record out in the wild in near mint condition, and if it's priced right, it's coming home with me. So what I have here is Station to Station, the original hype sticker. It had the promo, hard to see, but it had that promo stamp that you'll see sometimes on the RCA records. It was in shrink, and it is a Hollywood pressing. Between the Indianapolis and Hollywood pressings, first of all, make sure you have AZ in the dead wax. Alan Zent's mastering facility handled this record. I've done 2 or 3 videos or parts of videos talking about Station to Station. It is probably my favorite David Bowie album. Simply amazing. This thing was in near mint condition. It was priced for under $40. Definitely tan RCA label. Again, Hollywood pressing. This is just an iconic album, and I love the cover art, and I love that original hype sticker for Golden Years. So a definite upgrade. I'm going to probably list at least 2 of the other pressings I have that are just slightly not quite as nice as far as the overall package is concerned on Discogs, or I don't know, maybe I'll run them into one of my buddies here locally for some store credit. The next record I'm going to show will be in the category of plugging holes, or you know, filling out a catalog of someone that I love, and that would be Robyn Hitchcock. This is Element of Light. It is a 1986 pressing. It's in near mint condition. This is one of the best Hitchcock and the Egyptians records. One of the earlier Hitchcock and the Egyptians records. It's a US pressing on the Relativity label. Sounds amazing. It's a great recording, great songs. You know, I was kind of bummed this summer. We had tickets for Robyn Hitchcock. I had tickets back in the spring of 2020. He was coming to Fort Collins, and I think it was just going to be him solo acoustic. And you know, during his acoustic gigs, he'll pull out a Telecaster occasionally and do some electric songs. But that thing got scrubbed due to COVID. And finally, he announced a run of Colorado shows, and he was going to be coming to Fort Collins in early June. Late May, we got word that he canceled his entire small U.S. tour, or the second leg of his U.S. tour. He's got a new album that came out last fall, The Shuffle Man. Check it out. It's an amazing record. Sounds great. It's a full band electric record. And he's got Kimberly Yu from the Soft Boys. It's a great record. I was really excited to see Robyn again. I had not seen him coming up on maybe 10 years now live. Sad news, his daughter over in the UK, I believe she has ovarian cancer. Not a good situation. Robyn canceled the entire leg of the tour, and he's currently hanging out in the UK, being with her, helping her. I think he's doing some side gigs in pubs and things, which is amazing if you could see that. So anyway, best wishes to Robyn Hitchcock and his family. But really happy to find Element of Light, which I don't think I've ever seen out in the wild either. Great record. So about a month ago, there was another announcement of a small batch jazz reissue run being put out. This time, it was a collaboration between Blue Note and Third Man Records. You know, Jack White owned Third Man out of Detroit, Michigan, and they have a major operation in Nashville as well. I think the pressing plant is in Detroit. They may have another pressing facility in Nashville. Not 100% sure. Anyway, Don Was, the president of Blue Note, is a Detroit native, as is Jack White. And they decided to collaborate and put out some really cool 70s soul jazz records that all have a Detroit connection. And the first one, I think I'm only picking up one. It is Electric Bird, 1970, Donald Byrd. Really well done. Check out that. Check out the effect they've done on the cover. This is heavy cardstock, so similar to a Tone Poet. It came in an anti-static sleeve as well. 180 gram record. You'll see that they've gone with a different kind of a yellow label there, the Blue Note label. And this is a cool record. There are only, I think there's only 4 tracks on this. I've only listened to side 1. Side 1, Estevanico, and then Essence, and then side 2, Zibaba and The Dude. 3 of these are Donald Byrd originals. Zibaba is a cover. Originally recorded, mastered by Rudy Van Gelder. These are really cool kind of niche records that maybe, I don't know what was behind the decision, but maybe Joe Harley and Don Was, they decided to let these titles go. I think there's between 4 and 6 titles. Check it out online, but it's called the 313 Blue Note series in conjunction or collaboration with Third Man. This sounds really, really nice. I have no pressing effect. I have no pressing defects, and pretty cool record. Okay, the next record is another, let's call this an upgrade situation. I found an original pressing here locally at Driver 8 Records in Fort Collins. Shout out to Charles and his great shop. This, of course, is Ziggy Marley, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Marley and the Spiders from Mars. An early pressing Indianapolis RCA Dynaflex, and it sounds fantastic. Now, if you scan the forums, most people are going to point to you want to get an early UK pressing for best punch, best sound, but this record is no slouch, this particular pressing, and I'm really pleased with it, and it was fairly priced, and it's in VG+++ to I call it near mint minus condition. Pretty silent vinyl. I am always pleased with these Dynaflex pressings that I find out in the wild. I've got another one I'm going to show shortly. But don't be afraid of Dynaflex. There's nothing wrong with those if you can find them in clean condition. Here's another upgrade situation. I don't have a lot of the early Dylan albums and into the 70s and actually beyond have been done by MoFi. They've been done extremely well. But if I can find clean originals, a lot of these were recorded quite well. This is the 74 album when Dylan left Columbia and ended up on David Geffen's Asylum label. He's got the band backing him on this. Planet Waves, and they did this was a huge comeback tour for Dylan, full U.S. tour. And the cool thing about this, of course, is it's a white label promo. It's in near mint condition. Pretty cool. Hype stickers here. They had this Bob Dylan, like if you didn't know, people would just be looking at Planet Waves. Oh, it's Bob Dylan's new album. And there is that not for sale promo hype as well. One of the shops that I frequent here locally is called Bazaar Bazaar. Shout out to Bazaar Bazaar. They had a really nice pressing of Muswell Hillbillies. It's an original U.S. pressing. And lo and behold, it is also an RCA Dynaflex, near mint condition. This is a cool record. Love the Kinks, and kind of love the different directions that they went in the early 1970s. So this is an important album, and it's in near mint condition. Again, well priced over at Bazaar Bazaar. Another upgrade situation. I have a U.S. original pressing of this record, and I also have a reissue that came out several years ago. I decided it was time to try and procure a UK original pressing. Now, the thing about this record, and I'm talking about Gabriel's Soul record album, 1986. What an amazing record. It was recorded and mixed and mastered at the Townhouse in London. Now, the Townhouse was an amazing mastering facility, and if you have any albums that have Townhouse stamped in the dead wax, you know you have a Townhouse mastered recording. And this is just a pristine recording. There is no sibilance on this record. There's a whole long thread on this record having sibilance issues on various pressings. This OG Townhouse is the best I've ever heard this record. So this was an interesting situation. I found a 1968 repress on the UK Parlophone label of Rubber Soul in a local antique shop for $27. Now, the crazy thing about this, original inner sleeve as well. The crazy thing about this is, if you know the 1968 and before, these are all tube cut pressings. I'm sorry, it was not a yellow. Well, there is the yellow Parlophone there on the black label. And such a pivotal album for the Beatles and an amazing sounding record. This thing has just tons of punch and drive. A little bit of rawness here and there. But I think it's heads and tails above any U.S. pressing. But that is a 68 reissue stereo Rubber Soul. That's the Midsummer update here from the listening room at the University of Vinyl. My name is Tim. Thank you for watching today. Stay tuned. I'll be back soon. Have a great week. Have a great week.